Okay, so next I want to learn a little bit more about you. You and I have only really practiced mindfulness together, right? So I don't even know you that well, but I think probably a lot of other people inside of CIC are curious about this too. So you're both a rabbi and somebody who practices and teaches mindfulness. How did that come to be?
For me, meditation practice actually started not in any relation to being a rabbi, which is a professional thing. A rabbi is a Jewish clergy person, for anyone that might not know. But as part of a jiu-jitsu practice I was doing through high school, a little bit in college. So I was into jiu-jitsu, and the instructor, Shihan, was very... he felt it was very important to bring mindfulness into that martial arts practice. So I think that's where I kind of got my start. That was like a Japanese Zen practice, right? So that practice is a little different.
Yeah.
Part of that practice is about really welcoming difficulty. So all of mindfulness, and this is like important for people to understand, it's not Pollyanna. So if difficult things are occurring, we spend so much time being afraid of and avoiding them. And so one of the things you can do in mindfulness is really embrace difficulty and look at it. And what we find is when you like stare at the tiger, it is a tiger. So like there's some level of threat, but actually a lot of the things we're afraid of are, like fear itself or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little cliche, but right, we're like afraid of being afraid, or we're afraid of what will happen. And so mindfulness kind of forces us to. So the Japanese kind of tradition of practice that I was brought into is, we weren't walking on hot coals, but we were sitting for a while on cement, seiza, in like a Japanese seated position in a very uncomfortable physical posture, as a way of having to notice that was there and then not move. Our practice, don't fear, is much softer and more playful than CIC. But so that's how I got into it, and it was a really important friend, at times a coping mechanism, at times just something good to do through high school and then college. And that was really my first introduction to meditation, was in that context. Fast forward, I became a rabbi, Jewish clergy person, and I realized that the people I was serving in my congregation had many of the same needs as everyone. Like, how could there be a response to the needs of the moment? And mainly what people were dealing with was overwhelming stress. And then all the things that ensue from that when people try and cope. And then I also started to wear a lot of the stress for people. I developed some GI problems, and I was just getting pretty burnt out and worn down from being in a clergy role. And it was starting to affect my health in pretty serious enough ways that I was getting tested at Rhode Island Hospital for different things to figure out what was going on. And I saw that the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, a group I had not heard of, was running a series of mindfulness trainings and retreats so that you could learn to kind of deepen meditation practice, and also eventually lead and teach week-long silent retreat type things with expert teachers. And that was a fusion. It in of itself is interesting. It was a fusion of Buddhist practitioners, and neo-Hasidic Jewish rabbis into the kind of New Age spiritual renewal that is occurring, got together and formed a center. So that was in a Jewish context, right? But also not. It was classic mindfulness, just with groups of rabbis and cantors, and so we got together and practiced, and that got me, I think, to a place where I wanted not just to practice meditation on my own, but feeling ready and trained to hold space for people and to lead after several years of doing that. That's a little bit about me and how I got into the practice. But if anyone's coming, they should expect a kind of practice that borrows liberally and lightly from a variety of schools of thought, but isn't doctrinaire in any way.
Agreed. Yeah, and I love all of the variety of framings and context setting, the readings, that it changes week to week.
Yeah.
And that's some of the most enjoyable parts of practicing with you, is that it's not cookie cutter every single time, but the result feels the same in that, like, we all come out of midday mindfulness feeling refreshed, like we had a moment of focus, like we had that great 2-hour nap.
Yeah.
It somehow only came from at minimum 8 minutes. Yeah, it's been phenomenal to practice with you.
It's been so nice to practice with everyone here, like just people being willing to jump in and share.
Yeah.
And really engage it. It's been very sweet.